The Wilson EDC X9. Let's check it out. Wilson Combat is a legend in the 1911 world. They have been making just premium quality 1911s for a number of years. In fact, some of the best in the world. Their work is just impeccable. And there's a lot of things that they offer, a lot of services they offer. But one of the coolest things that I've seen from Wilson Combat is this EDC X9. It's a 1911 and yet it's a hybrid. There's a lot of cool things about it. It just melts in your hand, and yet you have 16 rounds of 9mm right there ready to go. This came from the EDC 9, and the X stands for extra 9mm rounds. To me, the ultimate art form is when you take beauty and function and you combine them together. Especially something that appeals to you, which firearms definitely appeal to me and have for the past 40 years. And because of that, I love function first. I mean, the gun's got to function, it's got to be reliable, it's got to be accurate. But then from there are certain things like ergonomics and the way the gun fits in your hand, the controls where they are, and the lines of the firearm are sometimes just as important, especially to those who have multiple firearms. When you go beyond just the tool. And then there are those who can afford to go the extra mile, and that's one of the things that Wilson Combat has always been known for, is just really high quality firearms. Starting out in 1977, Bill Wilson began his business in the back of a family jewelry store, doing gunsmithing work and working on especially 1911s and Model 10 Smith & Wessons and Ruger single actions. He was fine-tuning them for competitive shooters. And it's one of the things that if you get into competitive shooting, you begin to want to upgrade your pistol. You want to shave off those seconds. You want those sights to be right. It's got to be reliable. It's got to be accurate. I used to do a lot of competitive shooting years ago, and especially IPSC combat shooting. Finding the right pistol just became a journey. And because of that, Bill Wilson has thrived because he makes some of the best, if not the best, 1911s in the world. In fact, Bill Wilson in 1996 started producing 1911s that were completely made right there in Berryville, Arkansas. Again, they've just built a legend from these pistols. Now, they're extremely expensive, and this gun is not for everyone. But one of the things I want you to do is just to enjoy kind of the pinnacle of a firearm design. Now, first thing we're going to do is go ahead and check to make sure the gun's unloaded. We're going to remove the magazine, which this in itself is different from most 1911s, and then we'll bring back to make sure it's empty. And we're going to drop the hammer. One of the things about this magazine is they made it to the angle to be able to feed extremely reliable. When Wilson Combat designed this pistol, it was for concealed carry. That was the whole design behind this handgun. This is a hybrid 1911. It is in 9mm. It has 15 and 1 in the magazine. What's really phenomenal about the 15 and 1 in here is it doesn't feel a lot thicker than your standard 1911. It's because of the way this gun was designed. The grip itself is a modular grip. It wraps all the way around. It's actually a two-piece. You have one that comes in and then the back strap. There's no grip safety on this pistol, even though it has a really nice beaver tail. It is single action, and that means that when you rack the slide, it brings the hammer into the rear position. You can carry it cocked and locked, so you've got a safety right here, and so that definitely keeps it from firing. But then you fire the pistol, and the next round brings the hammer back. One of the things about this pistol in particular is that the action is just super smooth, which, you know, is typical for your Wilsons. Now, Wilson already makes the EDC 9, but this is the EDC X9, which stands for extra capacity. So it's everyday carry, extra capacity, 9mm. The frame is what they call the X frame. Because of the high capacity, the way the lines are cut. One of the things about Wilson too is everything is smooth. I mean, all the sharp edges have been done away with. According to Wilson, the most reliable 1911 on the market. Now, they're not just boasting. In fact, I've talked to some of the guys at Wilson. They shot over 50,000 rounds through one of the EDC X9s without any parts malfunction. Magazine was great, and no failures to feed. Then they went through a test and did 2,000 rounds without any lubrication, without any failures in reliability. The X9 has been in development for over 2 years, so they were really wanting to make sure they've got everything right. And so this gun has really been through a lot. It's not just a showpiece. This is a great gun for concealed carry. One of the things, though, that they wanted to do was to compare it in size to the famous Glock 19. The Glock 19 is one of the most popular handguns on the market, and the size itself, it has a lot to do with that, of course, with Glock reliability. But the guns actually are about the exact same size. In fact, here we have it silhouetted. I mean, it is like almost identical. The beaver tail does come out just a little bit from the back, but otherwise, I mean, they are really close in almost every dimension. One of the differences, though, is the Glock has, of course, the thicker slide, but here we have the tri-top is what they call it, and you have a cut right here to make this even more thin. It makes it actually a little bit more pointable. For some reason, it just points very naturally. Now, I did mention the slide was called the tri-top. It shaves some weight from the slide, which helps with muzzle flip. You get some of that mass off of the front, and you don't have so much coming back. This is a 416R stainless steel, and then you have a match grade stainless barrel that has been fluted, and of course even the ends have been fluted. So it's a beautiful barrel system. It is a bushingless design, plus it has a really nice recessed crown, and it is a really deep crown. Now, I haven't cleaned this gun since I fired it. I did wipe off the end of the barrel because it did have some residue there. But then we have a stainless steel guide rod and spring, and we'll look at that in a minute. Of course, you see right up front you have a fiber optic front sight, and then we have an adjustable rear sight, and this can be adjusted right here with elevation, and of course you can tap it over for windage. But yet it's still in that combat kind of style. And you do have a small shelf right here that you could use as a one-handed reload. The serrations are on the front and back. They're very minimal. They're tastefully done. This is called the X-Tac tread pattern. Very easy to grab hold of. It's not sharp, but because of all those diamonds, it makes it really simple to be able to bring back. Then we have the G10 grips, which you can see how they come up. It's a very different kind of feel to it. Comes around, it has a pewter medallion here with the Wilson logo here on the other side. I mean, the grip itself is beautiful, and then we have the X-Tac going across the back strap, which really kind of mates very nicely, and then the front with the grips. Has a really beautiful look to it, in my opinion. Here we see the mainspring housing, the way the whole thing just drops down. And that magazine just nestles right there in the grip, so it makes it a really nice solid piece. The gun itself, though, I'm telling you, this grip is just it's thin here, and yet it's not super thin, but of course it's thin here, so it has a very ergonomic feel to it, much better than your Glock. Now, I have some Talon grips on here, which makes it nice. Definitely more of taking a lot of the old school tradition and yet modernizing it. Not necessarily going to the striker fire, but still retaining a safety, still retaining that super crisp trigger pull, which we're going to look at in a minute, over the standard trigger, and plus with the aluminum frame, and it's one of the T6 75 T6 aluminum frames, and it's been of course milled and machined, it gives it just a little more feel of quality. I'm a big polymer frame guy. I love polymer frame pistols, but putting this in your hand, it's almost like a cheap bottle of wine and then a really expensive bottle of wine. Whenever you get a hold of quality, you can just really tell. As far as the weight of the pistol, 29.3 ounces. Here you have a Glock 19, 23.8 ounces. So even though the X9 is a little bit heavier, it's not bad at all for a 1911. We're going to check the trigger pull weight using our Lyman trigger pull gauge. 3 pounds, 8.2 ounces. 3 pounds, 9.3 ounces. 3 pounds, 11.3 ounces. So just around that 3.5 pound mark. And it is smooth. I mean, it is very smooth. Just a little bit of take up right there. And then a very crisp break. Let's check reset. Right there. Very nice. 1911s are known for their superb triggers, and this goes beyond. And one thing that Wilson offers are different triggers. In fact, you can get the short, the medium, or the long trigger. The grip itself comes in a small, medium, large, and extra large. And when you order the gun, you order it based on whatever your grip size is. The safety has been rounded, but it is extended. So you've got real positive action to the safety. Your slide release as well, very much rounded off, and yet it's very easy to get hold of. And then we have the mag release, which comes out extended just a little bit, but not too much. I've seen some that really hang out. This is just about perfect, and those magazines just fly out. You can get this with the safety though on the left side, and you can get ambidextrous safeties. One other feature that they offer is an accessory rail if you want an accessory rail for light or laser. And of course, Wilson Combat across the slide, and then EDC X9. But as you can see, just the fine craftsmanship of this pistol. It's one of the things I really wanted to show was just the beautiful design. I mean, the finish on here is impeccable. It's a very smooth finish. You see your extractor here is a little different than the 1911. It's on the outside. Now, one of the things that I definitely want to mention, because I'm going to awe over this gun because it is just incredible. When I finished with this review, Wilson was kind enough to send it for me to do the review, and I'm sending it right back because it's such a brand new pistol. Wilson's not paying me or anything. I'm just showing this pistol because I just love it. I just admire the quality, and I just wanted to kind of bring it to you guys. You have the skeletonized hammer, which makes it really easy to grab hold of. It is a 4-inch barrel, and it is fluted, and as you can see, it bevels out to give it that, it helps with that accuracy to lock up with the slide. You can see the chamfering right here at the bottom of the slide. Just those kind of things here at the end where you have your cuts back to give it a little more pointability, and just a beautiful handgun. And when you're at the range, you can feel the quality. Okay, we're going to try out some different loads, some remanufactured from Freedom Munitions, some new manufacture, and their Pro Match, which is 135 grain. Just test out a few different loads. And I want to thank Freedom Munitions for sponsoring the ammo, and you get a 5% discount using Sootch 00 when you check out. Wilson is always known for really high quality 1911s and the finish and the fit, and of course they produce most of the parts. no different than what they've done with the X9. You know, most of the parts are made right with Wilson. But one of the things about this pistol is it melts in your hand. I mean, the way the grip fits, you'd never know that you had a 1911 double stack. Even though it's 9mm, still it has a really solid feel to it, and it just molds in. The grip, of course, is, you know, proprietary. It's a very different style, and without the grip safety. It does have the beaver tail, but the grip safety's gone. All the controls are 1911, but easy to get to because they're a little bit extended, but still rounded, and you almost don't know that you have those extensions until you activate them, and it gives you that advantage. I love the U-notch sight in the back, and that green fiber optic rod just glows like daylight. Very easy to pick up. You just line it up and you fire. So I really love these sights. Of course, they're low snag, but easy to find. The serrations are really easy to grab, whether you're grabbing them from the back or the front. And that X pattern, it's not aggressive as in it hurts your fingers or your thumbs, but it just comes back really natural. One thing about this grip, it kind of curves down, not really like a bobtail, but it does have that effect. So when you get it in your hand, it just kind of smooths down. It's not straight out, so it doesn't push your hand out, and yet you still get that 1911 grip angle. I don't really know how to explain it, and the grips being so thin, a lot of times with double stacks, you feel like you have a 2x4 in your hand, but with this, it just naturally molds. And the grips, even though G10, and they have some nice aggression or aggressive patterns on here, they just fit well in the hand. And you've got your X pattern here, and of course on the back. Very comfortable. And guys, to be honest, I wasn't really expecting any different. This is a Wilson Combat. Now we're going to break down the pistol, drop my magazine, double check to make sure the gun is unloaded. Now the breakdown is a little different than your standard 1911, and you'll see this little cut in the slide, not here where the slide release is, but right there. You want to bring that back until it meets right here. So we bring our slide back, we want to mate that little cut right about here where we can pull our slide release right out, and we're pushing from the back. It's really difficult to hold this in the right position and show it. And then we just release the whole top slide assembly. Take our recoil spring and guide rod, and one of the things they recommend is a shock buffer, which we have right here. Pushing out this little plug, that's your guide rod plug, and then move your barrel forward. And that's all you want to do to field strip the pistol. Now you can see the fluting on the barrel and on the chamber. And of course it's been really highly polished. It's a single lug. This is a pre-production sample, so it's going to be a little different. But you have your cuts that come all the way up. And of course here you can get a really good look at that crown. I love that. That really helps protect your accuracy. You don't want to get nicks right there at the edge. And so this kind of keeps it recessed. And guys, I'll tell you, I shot the fire out of this thing. I went down to the range 3 different times and just loved it. I mean, it just shoots so just solid, and just a pleasure to shoot. Of course, you know, all the fit and finish are just excellent. Here gives you just a little bit of a look. Now, if you'll notice, there is a gap between the slide rails, which is not typical on your 1911s. And one of the things that Wilson says is that this is actually to increase reliability. And so they cut these out, and it just helps for, again, the reliability with the magazine coming up and the way the slide functions. Most of your modern pistols have a gap between the rear and front slide rails. The finish on the frame and on the slide itself is just really beautiful. It's one of their tough coat finishes, and it really just holds up extremely well. One thing I wanted to show were the rear slide serrations, how well done. Comes all the way up and then goes into the sight itself. This keeps glare down off your pistol in case the sun's behind you. And then of course the serrations that go all the way across the top of the slide. And the front sight is held in with a hex screw, and they will accept aftermarket sights if you want to change your sights out. I'm not sure what sights will work, but you can contact Wilson. And you have the nice Wilson logo. Okay, we're going to reassemble the pistol. I'm going to drop my link down, insert the barrel. We'll go ahead and put in our guide rod plug. One thing I will mention is that the spring is a flat recoil spring, which is different from your standard 1911 regular recoil springs. Bring our link back. Go ahead and set this right here in front of the lug. Making sure you bring that link down. You're going to need that when you enter your slide stop. Now, once we have that link, I go ahead and put my slide stop, just get it started so I can find the link. And this is where you want to be careful not to scratch your pistol. There it goes, right in. Now, of course, Wilson is known for its superb quality, but that comes with a price. The list price on the EDC X9 is $2,895. Now, that's way above a lot of people's budgets, no doubt. And yes, you can buy 6 Glocks for this pistol. But one of the things I told my daughter when she was, she's an artist, and when she was first really kind of getting things started, you know, not quantity is not what's important, it's quality. You know, 6 pictures halfway done are not worth 1 picture extremely well done. And I think that's what we have here, is a pistol that is extremely finely tuned, finely finished, reliable, and it's a beautiful masterpiece. And this is for someone who really wants to go the extra mile. Is it for everyone? Again, no, it's not, but it's definitely a beautiful thing. I know whenever I spend money on quality, it's very rare that I regret it. And you can go to wilsoncombat.com and check out all the features. I mean, there is a lot of information about these pistols. In fact, it's really overwhelming. And that's one of the things I've always found with really high quality gun companies, is they really want to put the information out there for you to see and to make your choice, you know, with an educated decision. And so Wilson Combat, beautiful handgun. The EDC X9, tremendous. Be an excellent concealed carry. And I want to thank Wilson Combat for sending the EDC X9. This is the first Wilson handgun that I've actually reviewed. I have done some work with Wilson on my Beretta and did a whole conversion, and then sent my Beretta Compact in for one of their carry just upgrades, which was beautiful. But this is the first Wilson pistol that I've actually reviewed on the channel. Now, down in the comments below, a lot of guys are going to start talking about how crazy it is to have a pistol that's $2,850. But one of the things you got to remember is Wilson is going full bore making pistols over the past decades, and they are in high demand. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. They cut these slide rails here and here, and I can't remember why they did that. Why did they do that? And the Glock 19 is one of the most popular 1911. So you can see the difference, even though the Wilson Combat XE. Okay. So even though the Wilson is. So even though the. Okay. Bill Wilson has produced 19. I don't even know how long he's done that. Because you can buy 6 Glocks. And I can already hear it because you can buy 6 Glocks. Okay. Bill Wilson has been making incredible, that's wind, 1911. And that wind, that freaking wind. I don't know. What are you going to do, Paul? Tell me what are you going to do?